All right, let's jump in to our week 9 underdog money line parlay.
We're hot.
And
We're hot.
it,
Don't let us get
it,
hot.
yeah, don't let us get hot. Last week I tried on, your shoes, walked a mile in your shoes, went with a small underdog and UAB broke my heart. So I'm going to go back to doing me. If I'm going to go out, if I'm going to go winless on this entire season on moneyline underdogs, I'm going to do it my way, Frank Sinatra style. I'm going Akron money line against
Oh,
Miami of Ohio plus 270. Who cares how bad Akron was in September? In MAC play, here we go. They're sixth in scoring offense. Miami is 12th. They're fifth in total offense. Miami's 11th. This is the number one passing offense in the MAC in conference play. DJ Irons is absolutely the right man to be running this offense. 6 total touchdowns, just 3 turnovers in MAC play. And their defense has been halfway decent. I would say like regular bad in terms of MAC play. They've kept them around to be able to flirt with an upset at Kent State. They absolutely were able to rein in a Central Michigan offense. And Miami can only do it on the ground. They cannot throw the football. So sure, they're going to absolutely eat on the ground in this game. The Akron run defense is awful, but I will pepper in one fact. Akron's given up a lot of yards this year, but not to quarterbacks running the football. Avion Smith is, critical in terms of the Red Hawks game plan. He needs to go for, triple digits on the ground running the football. I think he'll probably have a big day, but this Akron offense gives me a shot, and I'm going to go with them here. MAC play, I think, officially with last week's Toledo meltdown, giving up 24 points in the fourth quarter to Buffalo. I think we are truly getting ready for crazy Maction. And what would be crazier than Akron getting their first win of the season in MAC play over a Miami team that I think is just fine. I don't think their defense is special. You talked about Ivan Pace. They lost another linebacker in the transfer portal in the offseason as well. I think Akron could score 38 points in this game. Can their defense give up 37? We're about to find out. So I'm going to go with the Zips on the money line. What are you pairing up here in week 9?
well, first, I just want to say, I think you're just so, in love with this Akron offense after watching them torch. They outscored Kent State outgained Kent State last week, despite the loss. I do want to say one thing that makes me nervous about this. You mentioned Avion Smith. You do know Brett Gabbert came back from the clouds and played last week, which was stunning. I thought he was out for the season, and then all of a sudden he just played.
I still believe they're going to use both, at least according to kind of the game script. So if they do, I think it's like honestly, gun to my head, I would prefer Gabbert in this game coming in a little bit rusty as opposed to Avion Smith, who could carve up a bad run defense. Either way, this is a play on the Zips offense. I hope that they can score north of 35 points. And it's from a tempo perspective and quarterback quality perspective, I think that they can.
I would feel much better about that play if it was on a Tuesday. As much as that doesn't make any sense, it makes perfect sense if you watch MAC football. I'm pairing it up, and I did win 2 of these technically last week. I'm taking East Carolina plus 135 at BYU on Friday night. Look, we know this is a Holton Ahlers podcast. This has been a Holton Ahlers podcast for the 7 years that he's been at ECU. He leads the American with 304 yards per game and with 18 touchdown passes. He has just 5 interceptions, and he has the lowest turnover worthy play rate of his career. And anyone who's watched Holton Ahlers knows that has been the issue for the last 4 years. He just threw for over 300 yards against a good UCF defense in a blowout win, which we talked about. He has 2 really big receivers in Isaiah Winstead and CJ Johnson. Both have been really good this year. And while ECU did lose Rajay Harris for the season, which sucks, he's awesome. They do still have Keaton Mitchell. They've had that 2-headed monster for the last 3 years now, and Mitchell's a stud. He has 254 yards and 5 touchdowns in the last 2 games since Harris went down. And this BYU defense is broken. I don't know what happened. They looked really good the first 2-3 weeks. They gave up 500 yards and 6.8 yards per play against Notre Dame, who stinks. They allowed 644 yards, 7.9 per play to Arkansas. They allowed 547 yards, 7.1 per play to Liberty, and their third string quarterback. Liberty scored 41 points on them with their third string quarterback. Their BYU's 108th in points per game. They've allowed 31 points per game, 130th at preventing finishing drives. They can't stop the pass. They can't stop the run. Their secondary is just an absolute mess. They get no pressure. And we talk about this, the CCU offense, I feel like, has always been good. They've been good since Ahlers has been there. But their defense has taken a really, really big step last season. That was honestly my biggest takeaway against NC State in that first game was how much they took away NC State's ability to run the ball, how many times they stuffed NC State at the goal line. They've been awesome against the run all season, and they should make BYU one-dimensional, especially since BYU will be without running back Chris Brooks, which is a huge loss for them because Jaron Hall just doesn't look right. I know Stuckey mentioned thinking he might be hurt. He completed just 45% of his passes against Liberty. He already has more turnover worthy plays this year than he had in his whole career coming into this season. And very similar to my UTEP pick last week, and honestly, it probably applies to most teams. ECU success comes down to Ehlers protecting the football. The Pirates are 5-3 this season. They have 2 turnovers in each of their 3 losses. So 6 turnovers and 3 losses. They have just 1 turnover in their 5 wins combined. Well, BYU doesn't force many turnovers. They're 89th in the country. They force just 9 turnovers all season. So Ehlers protect the football. They should be able to torch this BYU defense that has been an absolute train wreck. I think the Pirates can go into Provo, get the win. I don't have an ECU shirt, so I'm wearing a Pittsburgh Pirates shirt. Let's raise the Jolly Roger in Provo.
Yo ho ho. I'm into it. I like it. I agree. BYU's been playing with like a half deck the whole year. Like someone's been hurt on their offense every single week. And if Jaron Hall is dinged up, I mean, there has to be some explanation for not being able to pick apart the Liberty defense. So I agree with you. Let's go with the team that's has the hotter quarterback, certainly has cut their teeth against really good teams this year. I mean, they opened the season against a fully healthy NC State. They nearly won that game. So their high level, their fastball, I think is clearly good enough, to get the win there. And I will go back to my Miami of Ohio Akron play to point out, I'm glad that you wanted to get into Brett Gabbert. They only scored 10 points against Western last week at home, and he averaged 5.8 yards per attempt with a QBR of 24.8. So whether it's Avion Smith in some capacity, being a change of pace, being a wildcat quarterback, or if it's Gabbert the whole game, I kind of like this play even more now that I'm thinking that Gabbert may end up getting a full 60-minute run in this game. All right, now for what's turned into our most profitable portion of the podcast, which is the cutting room floor, our bonus picks. It sounds like you had a bunch of them, so let's just run through the ones that you liked, and I'll give you my gut reaction.
Well, I had Southern Miss too, so obviously I know you like that. I like UAB again, -5 against FAU.
Do we know the quarterback situation?
We don't. He's in protocol. I obviously like it a lot more if he plays. I took it just hoping he plays. Zeno looked bad, but maybe with a full week of practice, he started Baylor. He's jumped around a lot. So, we all know what I think about FAU. Again, this is a game where if you give McBride the ball 40 times, they should win this game. So I obviously like it a lot more if Hopkins plays. It's something to monitor. I took it at 5 because I think it'll go up if he plays, but I still like it. Honestly, I think FAU stinks. And then I couldn't go with the 2 gross totals in a row. I went with the gross under instead of the gross over. 59.5 is the total again in Charlotte against Rice. It's almost the same principle as the La Tech one. These defenses are so bad. And you have, maybe Charlotte's offense clicks with the new interim coach. We've seen the interim coach thing work before. If Chris Reynolds is healthy, Charlotte could put up 40 on anybody. And we saw what Rice did last week. I really like that over. I didn't want to play 2 gross totals, but Charlotte Rice over 59.5. I really like that as well. These defenses are both horrific. And then the only other one I had written down, I don't love it as much, is South Alabama -10 against Arkansas State.
That was the one for me. It's a little bit of a letdown after the loss to Troy. They no longer control their own destiny in the Sun Belt West, but from a head-to-head perspective, this Arkansas State defense is going to make anybody look good on offense. But really, South Alabama, I think, has been one of the biggest surprise stories in the entire Sun Belt in terms of offensive year-over-year improvement. Between Webb at running back and what Bradley's been able to do at quarterback, I think they're going to run away with this game. 10, I think, is pretty, accurately priced. But if it were to dip below that key number of 10, I think that becomes a hammer spot for me on the Jags.
Yeah, I agree. Is it a letdown after the Troy game, or are they pissed off after the Troy game and you've had, Troy trolling them a little bit? Or do they come out mad and just stomp Arkansas State? I could also see that, which is kind of why I didn't play it, but I do agree with you where I like it.